Hola, muy buenos días. Bienvenidos y gracias por unirse a esta sesión con Reykjavik University. Mi nombre es Carolina Leguizamón. Yo hago parte del programa de Consejería Académica y Relaciones Internacionales de Colfuturo y nos acompaña Laurentio Antón, quien nos va a contar un poco acerca de la oferta académica de Reykjavik University, cómo postularse, sus programas más destacados y va a resolver todas las dudas que vayan surgiendo durante la sesión. Para ello pueden dejar las preguntas en la caja de chat y al final vamos a tener un espacio corto de Q&A, de preguntas y respuestas para que él nos pueda ayudar a resolverlas. Me gustaría resaltar que 7 personas han sido seleccionadas con el programa Crédito Beca de Colfuturo para ir a estudiar su posgrado en Reykjavik University. Este año fueron 2 personas las seleccionadas y específicamente un programa muy popular entre nuestros beneficiarios es Sustainable Energy, programa de máster. Entonces, Luciano nos contará más acerca de este programa, por qué las personas han elegido este programa, y también acerca de nuestro convenio que otorga un 25% de descuento en el valor de la matrícula para 4 beneficiarios de Colfuturo en un programa de maestría o doctorado. Entonces, bueno, también me gustaría recordarles que esta sesión hace parte de una serie de webinars que hemos tenido durante el mes de agosto hasta el 31 de agosto, de lunes a viernes a las 10 de la mañana. En estos eventos invitamos universidades alrededor del mundo que tienen convenio con Colfuturo para que nos cuenten acerca de sus programas y así pues poder dar este primer paso en la preparación de ese sueño que es realizar un posgrado en el exterior con el apoyo de Colfuturo. Entonces, sin más preámbulo, thank you so much, Laurentio, for accepting the invitation. It's a pleasure to have you here in this session and answering these questions and providing this information. Well, you can start your presentation.
Thank you so much, Carolina. I'm going to speak in English. I hope that's okay with everybody. And yeah, I have just a short presentation here and a video, actually. After that, as Carolina said, we'll just have an open Q&A. So if you have any questions, please write them in the chat and I'll answer them. I'm going to start off by just sharing my screen. And share sound. So I'm going to just start this off with a quick video. This is from our YouTube channel, which is something that we're just developing now. But I think it's a great introduction to the programs, and after which I'll kind of elaborate in more detail.
I'm studying a master's in sustainable energy engineering. So what I'm looking at is kind of the entire electrical grid of Iceland. I know Iceland is a world leader in renewable energy, so I kind of wanted to come here and learn from the best.
When I was looking at courses in other countries, some of them actually introduced Iceland as the best option. Some of them even had field trips coming to Iceland. So I started thinking, why go abroad to study something that I have basically in my backyard?
Industry experts here are really open and really pleased to share their experiences with the students, and they come in and they teach for us, and there's a lot of interaction between the university and the energy industry.
We're a highly international program. I would say as far as quality of life, the standard of living in Iceland, the quality of education, we're definitely offering something that's one of the best in the world.
Students from the School of Energy have worked with us on various projects concerning renewable energy. They've worked on projects looking at hydro, geothermal or wind, and also how we combine these different sources together. We focus on working on real-world projects, seeing how the theory works in practice.
Reykjavik Energy works with ISE through student internships. Every spring, we provide projects that we think that students can help us with and get them involved in our work in geothermal energy and providing electricity, hot water and cold water to the citizens of Reykjavik and other towns surrounding us.
In 2013, we signed a contract with Reykjavik University. Through that contract, we provide our former UNU fellows who have been here for 6-month training with a possibility to come back to Iceland to get an academic degree in master's studies or even PhD.
Iceland is quite remarkable when it comes to its energy sector, but it's also an excellent place to study about energy. And we have access to companies, to data, and we have systems that are understandable due to their fairly small scale, but nonetheless possess all of the necessary complexities so that they are good case studies for our students.
So when I started at the School of Energy, I found that it was really quite easy to get in touch with experts in the industry. They were very cooperative and helpful, and it was quite a big surprise for me. So I'm presently supervising Iceland School of Energy students, and I find it really nice to give back to students that are going through the same program that I came through a few years ago.
The graduate programs offered by Iceland School of Energy provide students with all of the foundations that they need for the development of renewable energy. That means the science, the engineering, the economical aspect, the legal aspect, everything that is needed. And we really want them to succeed in their studies and to make sure that they are so well prepared for the future that they are the first in line when it comes to the competition for jobs.
Okay. So I don't think I could say it better myself, but I will go over all of this information in detail. But I wanted to just kind of start off with just explaining, why Iceland? Why is it so important that we study Iceland in Iceland as a case study? And this graph, I think, is very illustrative of this fact. What you'll notice is on the red line is basically the GDP of Iceland, and the blue is the installed renewable energy capacity. This is a little bit out of date. Now we are actually pretty much 100% renewable. But what you can see is that in the early 1960s, Iceland, and even before that, Iceland was one of the poorest countries in Europe. And through investments into renewable energies, into geothermal energy and hydropower, in combination with industry involvement, Iceland became one of the richest countries in Europe in a very short span. And this is largely contributed by the transition away from coal and other fossil fuel generating sources to renewable energies. And so there's a lot that can be learned from Iceland's economy and kind of how they've dealt with their energy problems. And of course, there's still a lot that can be learned. Currently, one of the biggest problems in Iceland, or at least one of the biggest challenges to overcome, is transitioning the transportation sector, for example, into some kind of a clean energy source. So here at the Iceland School of Energy, I just wanted to put this right up front. This is sort of our core team. You have Dr. Juliet Newson, who is our director. Juliet comes from New Zealand. She was the former president of the International Geothermal Association. We have our development director, Randall Morgan Green, or Morgan Green. Morgan has overseen the development of the program for the past, I think, 6 years or 7 years. I myself came onto the team about 2 years ago. Actually myself and Morgan both did the program. I went on to work with solar, wind, and battery technologies afterwards, and then came back to help build the Iceland School of Energy. And our admissions officer in the international office is Verity Louise Sharp. Verity is the contact person for all things related to visas, travel, and as well as just getting settled and accommodated in Iceland. So the question is, who are you? This is a slide that I kind of put on, and I hope some of you are nerdy enough to understand the reference. But basically, who is an Iceland School of Energy student? What kind of a student thrives at the Iceland School of Energy? And I would say first and foremost, it's a student that is interested in sustainable development and renewable energy technologies, but also just a student who is looking to make the world a better place, is looking to help with the clean energy transition, and one who is tenacious, one who is driven to kind of follow through with their goals. The best way I can describe the kind of master's experience at the Iceland School of Energy is that the opportunities are there for you when you arrive, but you have to have the drive and the initiative to seek them out and to follow up with industry connections throughout your 2 years of studying here. So I think it was mentioned in the video as well, but basically the Iceland School of Energy was founded in 2008. Originally, it was called REIST, or the Reykjavik Energy Training Program, or Sustainable Energy Training Program. This was restructured and rebranded with the inclusion of the Iceland GeoSurvey into the Iceland School of Energy. And so our partner institutions, as of now, are Reykjavik Energy, or on the slide it's in Icelandic, and it's Orkuveita Reykjavíkur. We have ISOR, or the Icelandic GeoSurvey, and of course Reykjavik University. The way that the school is situated, so the Iceland School of Energy is presently within the Department of Engineering, and the Department of Engineering is within the School of Technology. And even from its inception, from the very beginning, the Iceland School of Energy is founded in industry. So we work, and we still do work, with OR and ISOR, and we have a lot of our geothermal classes, for example, taught by specialists working in the field, working with ISOR, to basically bring to the classroom industry knowledge and expertise directly from the field. Our partners are not the kind of end to our industry collaborations. They're actually just the beginning. We have more industry collaborators than are listed here, but this is just a short list of companies that we work with within Iceland. Landsvirkjun is the national power company of Iceland. In the video, you actually saw the CEO just give a brief 30-second introduction to our relationship with them. Landsnet is the transmission system operator. Landsnet works with primarily our electric power engineering students to help develop master's thesis projects that are relevant for the Icelandic grid, but also something that is interesting to the specific student. Our former director, Halla Hrund, is now actually the Orkumálastjóri, or the energy director for the National Energy Authority in Iceland. This is Orkustofnun in the top right. And then below that, we have a list of different engineering consultant groups, which we work with regularly. Veitur is the utility company in Reykjavik, and so they provide the hot water, heating, and electricity to the citizens of Reykjavik. And we have more here as well, which I'm happy to go into more detail. But basically, our industry partners and our industry collaborators work with our students to develop master's thesis projects, which I'll get into a little bit later. But basically, from the start to the finish, we try to engage industry with our students so that our students can get real world experience, but also just to start developing contacts at these companies. A lot of times, the companies that you work with while you're studying at ISE end up becoming either a connecting point to your future job, or potentially might be your future employer. So I just wanted to kind of recap our approach, and it's quite simple. This is a global problem. The energy transition is different from country to country, but it's something that every country has to face. And so our outlook is international. Our students come from all over the world, and our industry collaborators are not just in Iceland, but they also extend to basically every continent, except for Antarctica. We have not conquered Antarctica yet. The approach that we have in the classroom is kind of a mix in that our lecturers either come in person, or now with COVID, we've had kind of a hybrid learning approach. But we have material that is presented within the classroom, but then for partnered with this, there is field research as well. So depending on what track you are studying, throughout the coursework, there are field trips that you get to actually have hands-on experience and work with the subjects that you're studying in the classroom. These classrooms are almost always interdisciplinary. Perhaps one of the exceptions is the electric power engineering students, which kind of are so specialized that they're mostly together. But actually, every student that we have goes through the summer program. And when we say interdisciplinary, we genuinely mean it. Our students come from basically every engineering background that you can think of: mechanical, chemical, environmental, geological as well. We have quite a few former employees of the oil and gas industry, I should say, who have come over to the renewable side. And so that's another, all of that adds flavor into the classroom and basically allows for full and diverse conversations when you're talking about the topic of sustainable energy. All of this is interlinked with our industry connections, and the outlook goes back to international. So not all of our students end up staying in Iceland, and that's a good thing. Part of our goal is to kind of share the knowledge and expertise that we have here in the country, and basically help develop the next generation of sustainable energy specialists who can go back to their home countries and help their country with the transition. So, okay, let's talk about the degree structure. So we have 4 degrees, and all of them are structured exactly the same. The first year is basically 60 ECTSs. An ECTS is a European Standard Credit Union credit, and basically one ECTS it accounts to, I think, about 30 hours of study time. This can be in classroom or homework time. So the degree in itself is 120 ECTS, and you can see that the first year, so this is from the summer, and I've included current dates into here. So summer of 2022, this would be next year for those of you that are interested in applying, all the way out to the summer of 2023. This first year are classes. The first semester in particular, depending on the subject that you, or the kind of specialty that you wish to go down, there are courses that are specialized, but there are also general courses that every student needs to take. An example is energy economics. So this kind of brings everybody up to a certain level of education, so that every student that we have has kind of a well-rounded understanding of the topics within the energy industry, and can begin thinking about what kind of research they want to do. In the spring, this is the second semester of classes, and this is kind of the semester where a lot of students decide to specialize. And so there is an entire track for geothermal energy and geothermal engineering, but there's also specialties within wind, specialties within energy economics and policy. There's a hydro course as well, and so on. And what you'll notice is that at the end of this first year is the thesis proposal deadline. So the second half of the master's program is a thesis research. This is a one-year research, which accounts or sort of equals 60 ECTS of credits. And this is something that is developed by the student with a supervisor at the university, and most often with an industry collaborator. The proposal of this thesis needs to be thought out, discussed, and written by typically the 1st of June every year. And this allows the student to basically start in the summer of their second year and continue on until about May, when the defenses are happening. If we look into the first two of our four programs, the sustainable energy, we have a master's in sustainable energy sciences, and we have a master's in sustainable energy engineering. These are some of the courses that can be taken. This is a long list of courses that can be also found on our website. And all of this information can be found on our website, including requirements for application. But you can basically see here, in the autumn, you have sort of higher level courses such as energy economics, energy geology, energy and industrial processes. So this is basically looking at plants that are high energy users and looking at process diagrams for that. Energy technology, and as well some special topics. This is typically courses that are offered in collaboration with some of our other academic partners. This fall, we have a fellow from Cornell who is coming to talk about energy regulation and looking at kind of the case studies around the world with the decentralization and liberalization of energy markets. In the spring, you'll notice that there's a lot more variety of courses. This falls in line with basically the specialization that I had mentioned earlier. So students that are looking to follow the geothermal track, basically they have short modules back to back where they're taking intensive courses for about 2-3 weeks, and this spans over the 12-week period of the spring. And then the autumn and spring of the next year is the graduate thesis project. For electric power, our electric power programs, we have electric power management and electric power engineering. They're similar, and I should say that both the sustainable energy science and engineering are also similar. There's stricter requirements for our engineering programs because, and I'll mention this later as well, all of our engineering programs are accredited in collaboration with the Association of Chartered Engineers in Iceland. And so to apply for the engineering programs, you need to have a bachelor's in engineering or very highly related. And the sort of approach to the engineering courses are much more technically oriented. The thesis as well, the research needs to be in a field of engineering. And for electric power, this is a program that we've had students that are not necessarily electrical engineers go into. And so the autumn is kind of a very, I would say, a 0 to hero semester where students learn about the various components within an electric power system. Students learn about high voltage engineering and some of the safety requirements for that, as well as just how to model electrical fields and how to model equipment that are part of the electric power system. All engineering students within the Department of Engineering, so this is our electric power engineering and our sustainable energy engineering, all students need to take a course called data mining and machine learning. This is a highly intensive programming course, typically taught in Python. And the reason for this is because a lot of engineering jobs nowadays require an understanding of programming and of applying optimization techniques and data science techniques to engineering problems. In the spring, the courses become a little bit more detailed. Stability and control, for example, looks at dynamics within power systems. And these courses basically help students within electric power engineering kind of think about what kind of modern electric power problems they could potentially address within within their graduate thesis project. So I had mentioned this previously, but our engineering courses are basically accredited through VFE or Verkfræðingafélag Íslands. My Icelandic is, I'm still learning that. But basically students that are accepted into the engineering program and then later graduate from the engineering program are eligible for the title of chartered engineer in Iceland. This is the professional designation for engineers within the country. So this is one of my favorite slides, and this basically shows where our students have come from in the past. And I'm very proud to say that over the decade or so that the Iceland School of Energy has been around, we have had the pleasure of hosting students from over 50 countries, Colombia being one of those countries. And it's just incredible for me to think that people from all over the world have come to this tiny little island in the North Atlantic to learn about sustainable energy. It's humbling, and it's also great to know that we're having such an impact around the world. This is a class of, I think this was the class of 2019. And this is just sort of putting the phases to the previous image that you saw. This is on our field trip, and I believe they were out in the Reykjavik Peninsula, which is a peninsula in Iceland that has a few geothermal power plants and a lot of natural features. Our students are at the forefront of research. I think at this point, it's been made clear that industry involvement and industry experts come in from the start to the finish to basically help guide our students down the path of whatever specialty they're interested in. And I wanted to put this slide to kind of emphasize some of the different domains that are studied. So we, of course, have geothermal energy and exploration. This is a topic that is well researched within Iceland with a lot of case studies that our students study abroad. Power systems, we have our whole degree on this. But some topics within power systems include electric vehicle integration, include stability and protection schemes for increasingly complex systems, digital substations, and virtual power plants. There's a lot of interesting topics within power systems. But also we have a growing interest within wind energy research in Iceland and abroad, and not mentioned on here as well, we have some projects in solar. We have some projects looking into green fuels. So this includes green hydrogen and green ammonia production. And of course, there's different approaches to each of these subjects. So for example, if we take a look at power systems, a student can approach this from an engineering perspective, but there's also entire disciplines looking at electricity markets that interface with electric power systems. And so within each of these domains, you have the ability to approach it from a scientific perspective, from an engineering perspective, or from a policy and economics perspective. I wanted to add this last slide. I think this is the last slide, but this is just an example of some of the scholars that we've had through Colfuturo. Natalie was from the class of 2019. She ended up actually, I think she's in New Zealand now. She's working as a reservoir engineer with a company called Contact Energy. But also we have Daniel Barrios Castilla, and he's actually just finishing up. He's in the electric power engineering track, and I'm actually co-supervising his research. Currently as well, we have Andres Laverde. He's just starting his thesis and will graduate hopefully next year. And Laura Rodriguez, she just started this year, made it to Iceland, and we're happy to have her. So that is actually all that I had. I hope I didn't go over time, but thank you for your attention.
Right. Thank you so much for the presentation, for the information. I think it was very clear. Now we have received one question from Isabella. She's asking if the recording will be sent to the people who attended the session. So yes, we are recording the session, and we will send this recording to your emails in a couple of days. And well, there's a question from Laura. She's asking, I understand that you are strong in energy field, but do you have PhD research in food biotechnology?
So there's two aspects of this question, I think. And first is the topic of doctorate research. We do host international PhD fellows. This is not directly through the Iceland School of Energy, but through the Department of Engineering. And if you are interested in this, I can give you a contact person at the university to connect with. And regarding the topic of food biotechnology, this is also an interesting subject because it's highly related to the field of sustainable development. And a lot of this has to do with the way that energy is used, excuse me, to kind of use the resources that go into food in the most sustainable manner. So an example of this would be looking at what's known as cascading resource usages. And an example in Iceland is at one of the geothermal power plants, the reject heat is actually used to develop algae. Algae that can be used for biofuels, but can also be used for food supplements or for cosmetic products and so on. So we actually have a student working with this company. I believe the company, it was called Algae Innovation, but I think they've rebranded to be called Vaca. And yes, so it is kind of tangential, but we do have students that are studying this subject.
All right, thank you. Christian is asking, could you share with us information about the living cost and the tuition fee, or where can they find this information?
So this is on our website. The tuition cost can be found on the website. The cost of living in Iceland, I'll just maybe say a small bit about this, but this depends largely on your budget as an individual. We have students who basically are looking for low cost, low budget accommodations, but we also have students who have a higher budget. Students can expect rent. For example, if you're renting a room in a shared accommodation, this typically goes for about 100,000 krona, or I think that's about the equivalent of $800 or $900 a month, and that's rent. For example, this may change, but at least these are the figures that I know right now.
Okay. Thank you. Also, could you please remind us what's the language requirement? Which test do you accept? And also, is it possible to get into the university or get a conditional admission if you don't meet the language requirement, or is it mandatory to have it when you are applying to the university?
That's a good question. So our programs have an English language requirement. We accept both TOEFL and IELTS scores. For TOEFL, the minimum requirement, I think, is 550. And for IELTS, it's at least 6. These are hard requirements. So every student who does not come from an English-speaking country or has not studied a bachelor's degree where the primary language of instruction was English would need to present proof of their English language competencies.
Right.
All of this information is on the website as well.
And could you please share some recommendations for the people that are interested in starting the process, the application process, like some tips or advice to have a better application?
Oh, what can I say here? Well, first of all, I would say that the minimum requirement is to make sure that your application is complete. I actually just shared a link where you can see everything that that is required. So this includes having a CV or a resume, official transcripts from the university. If you have not yet completed your degree, your bachelor's degree, you can send the most up-to-date transcripts, but then you will have to send them later. 2 letters of reference. These letters of reference have to be from directly from the referee, so the person who is referring you, and they have to be sent from their institutional email. And I would say a really important aspect of this, and this is the last part, besides the passport and the English certificate, is the personal statement. This is about a 500-word statement that we ask our applicants to write, and this is basically, we read these, we read all of these, and this is your chance to basically, it's kind of like a cover letter in that you can describe what your interests are, what your passions are, and kind of tell us what your story is. So we're not necessarily looking for a recap of what is on your transcript or what is on your CV, but what drives you, and why do you want to study in Iceland? Why do you want to study sustainable energy? And so we kind of look for, of course, we look for students that are academically capable, but also students who are driven internally and really are looking to advance the field. The other thing that I can mention, perhaps as a tip, is that when we say you are free to contact us, you are free to contact us. We do respond to all serious emails and kind of help students along the way as best as we can through the admissions process.
Thank you. Well, we don't have more questions right now, so I hope everyone is ready to start their application. And thank you so much for attending this session, for sharing the information with us. Okay, so you just sent the email in the chat.
Yes.
Is interested in sending a question or something, there's the email. And bueno, me gustaría también recordarles que si están interesados o quieren más información acerca del programa Crédito Beca de Colfuturo, tenemos 2 sesiones al mes. La primera es el primer viernes de cada mes a las 8 de la mañana y el segundo sábado de cada mes a las 9:30. Allí pues podrán conocer más acerca del programa, cómo es la financiación. Y muchas gracias por haberse conectado, por haber enviado sus preguntas. Esperamos que se sigan conectando a nuestros eventos. Pueden estar pendientes en nuestras redes sociales, en Instagram. Allí estaremos compartiendo la programación de septiembre, por ejemplo. También tenemos ya la programación. And thank you so much, Laurentio, for coming to this session.
It has been my pleasure.
Okay, have a good day. Goodbye.